Everybody knows about K-State design, and it features very unique design every time. Now, in 2008, the teams were charged to harvest trees in a forest. Every other team sent single robot to harvest single trees. The K-State's design was a gantry that simultaneously harvest multiple trees at one time. You know, this design shocked all the audience, and it also forever changed the rule of the competition.
One of the most important thing is you got to have the fun and cultural activities, because without any fun, nothing else really matters. I think because when you have the fun and the students are actually enjoying what they're doing, the spark gets created. I'm just there kind of chilling. You know, I don't have to do a whole lot, because then they become learners on their own sake.
A football game on Saturdays for these band kids is a dozen hours. It's 10 to 12 hours. You don't know that, and they don't care if you know that or not, and it doesn't matter to them, but they love this place. This is their university. And they sweat, and they can't catch their breath, and they smell bad, and it hurts, and they're having fun. Figure that one out.
When I asked the students what they wanted to get out of this course when they first started in the course, they said two things. They wanted to learn how to communicate with someone outside of their discipline, someone who, this came from the words of the students, someone who thinks radically different than they do. And they also wanted to learn how to collaborate together with a different discipline, because all of the students in the class said that this is something that was important to them. They knew it was going to be essential beyond their discipline, and they said that their current curriculum at the point that they hadn't experienced that this was intentionally taught or designed within their courses. So that's what they wanted to get out of it.
My mentors developed their own expertise. So Cases is about healthcare. He likes to talk about healthcare. Polly reminds the students again and again to have end-of-life discussions with their family members before it's too late. And for Bob, it was financial literacy. He really wants the students to have enough gall or manage to be smart enough to save money early on so that they can have the kind of retirement that he has.
But the best thing of all is the questions that they ask during this aren't, how much is this worth? When is it due? How much time do I have left? It's, what would happen if? And just that tiny shift, that paradigm shift of how they view the information tells me I might be onto something. We also take it one step farther, which I found out which pleases the drama and theater department, but we actually dress up as science components and we become the thing for a day, and they have to act out what they are in order to get credit. They also can perform in front of the class. Here is a couple of students. They chose to be a kidney and a bladder, and they are actually making urine. Now they dribbled a little bit. It turns out that's totally natural as well, so no problem there. But again, you don't lose interest there. So instead of seeing this, I now see this, and I promise you this photo is not rigged. They're actually looking at the creation of their peers. I put them up for them to sort of evaluate, and if you'll notice, there's no cell phones being used here. It's just engagement.
So what are the principles? What are the 4 pillars of good lecturing, of good teaching in general? First, in your role as sage on the stage, you don't necessarily have to be chewing the scenery all the time. But a little bit of enthusiasm for the subject at hand goes a long way in helping to engage the students and keep their attention. Second pillar, students love lecturers who are well organized because it helps them to be organized too. Third pillar, put your expertise on full display. And all of that adds up to the 4th pillar, memorable moments in the classroom. Students especially like those singularly explosive moments because they say that's what helps them remember things.
So let me ask you a question. Are you ready for a little physics? All right, yeah, that's what I want to hear. Okay. You know, science, physics certainly to some degree, but science in general pervades our civilization. And my message isn't so much the content of what I'm going to tell you, but the method itself. And true, I'm addressing this to the student, or perhaps even more so to the teachers of science. It's up to us as teachers of science to explain science in a coherent manner, to make sure that our students know the methods of science.
Then I thought, well, maybe occasionally we should just take a timeout, right? And I thought I'll start with what I learned from my favorite teachers, and we'll do some in-class demonstrations. Sometimes I set up demonstrations that I can do myself. I can make sure that the demonstration mirrors the theory I'm talking about. Sometimes I can bring students up to the front of the class and they can do it for me, and we can have so much fun with it. We can play music, we can wear hard hats, safety first. And then also sometimes I can kind of incorporate both of them together. So one day something really cool happened. I was talking about my good friend Bernoulli, and you can see the student here. He's measuring the head of water in the tank, and he's about to go to the side, and he's going to measure the height of the water in the manometer. And ever since I was an undergrad, when I hear the word manometer, I think one thing.
Phenomena.
Right? It's a manometer.
Phenomena.
So I came to class and I played this. The students walked in, we're playing the manometer video. They're all giggling, I'm giggling, we're measuring it. And I think they really liked the demo. They learned a lot from the demo, but honestly, I think the Muppets were really what they were into. It wasn't my demo. So I thought about that some more, and I thought, well, okay, I do still need to talk about theory. I don't always have time to solve a problem. It's not always appropriate to solve a problem. But I've also got these other videos that I can show that are 100% related to my lecture.
So what I want to do here is propose kind of a different model. I've got the fancy music to close this out now. And the different model looks like this. Like, imagine organizing your course as if like there's a bunch of people on the bottom of this mountain, and at the top you've got something worth it, and you make them feel that it's worth it. So at the very beginning there's buy-in, there's co-ownership, the sense of connection, and they start climbing this mountain, and you've scaffolded it so that they can see that they can make it. They have these platforms they can make it up to. So, you know, people start climbing, and a lot of them make it quite quickly up to that first platform, but some people need some help. So I only give one grade in this regard. I give A's and not yets. And those folks get not yets. And then you say, okay, everybody, let's help these people up. And it's amazing what happens at this point. People start reaching out, helping each other, and everybody makes it to that first platform. And then you frame the next piece. And by the next piece, people are starting to hit their stride. They're starting to realize we can work together. This is that connection and trust that's building. And they make it to that next platform. Then things get really hard. This is the moment where we're at right now in this semester. Things are bound to get hard because a real project takes real struggle. And so they struggle, but they struggle together and they make their way. And at this point, you start to feel this momentum, and it's just a real joy that I've shared not only with Jordan and Kinsey last year with the project they did that you just saw, but so many other students. When you get to this point, you really start to feel this rhythm building. You can see the top, and you start racing up there, and you make it your way. But what's interesting about this moment is that you realize at this moment that this is not just about this final project. It's not so final after all anyway, because the real project was you. That you've changed somehow in this process. I'm going to cry because I've seen Jordan and Kinsey do this, and I've seen other people do this too. And that's what's worth it.